Well, here we go. I was literally just saying in a previous segment that I don't really care to talk about people like this. It's just some random lady with a dumb opinion. Now, I suppose there are concerns if it turns out that a pediatrician wants you to die. I think that's something that would probably worry any parent. But the reason why I said I don't really care to talk about things like this, but I will now because there is a development in the story, is because you could find examples of this on the left and the right. And I'm not going to argue as to, I think the left probably has it more than the right for sure, but the right certainly has these personalities. But here's the story. Texas pediatrician's flood post claiming MAGA got what they voted for backfires spectacularly. She got fired. She made a post. I think that Daily Mail probably has it. She said, "May all visitors, children, non-MAGA voters, and pets be safe and dry. Kerr County MAGA voted to gut FEMA. They deny climate change. May they get what they voted for. Bless their hearts." It's crude, it's crass, it's brutal, it's mean, but she's a nobody. That's why my initial reaction was, I'm not going to talk about it. That being said, she's been fired, and a bunch of high-profile people are talking about it. So I'm going to use this opportunity to talk about the point of cancel culture, targeting people, but also, I think there is a fair meme in the bigger picture. Liberals would see you die. There was a viral post this weekend where someone said, the right largely will gloat over your suffering. The left hopes you die. That's the distinction and the difference that is exemplified by this Texas pediatrician. But let me read the story for you, and then I'll tell you my views. I know people, you probably don't agree with me. You're probably saying, no, she should. But I'll get into it. So comment, let me know what you think. A Texas pediatrician has been fired after claiming that Trump supporters got what they voted for. Dr. Christina Probst sparked massive backlash after she took to Facebook to share a now-deleted message where she appeared to take glee in the floods that have left 82 dead, including at least 28 children. A screenshot of Probst's post was shared on X over the weekend, sparking demands that she be fired and even have her medical license revoked. There is no room in medicine nor in civilized society for this kind of hate, wrote one X user. Patients, save yourselves and your children from Christina Probst. Holy Lord, what a ghoul, said Megyn Kelly. How much hatred must you have in your heart to be posting something like this? The backlash forced Probst's former workplace, Bluefish Pediatrics in Houston, to issue a statement on Saturday night after disavowing her comments. So the flood's been brutal. The practice wrote in a statement, "We are aware that a personal social media comment by one of our physicians has caused significant hurt and outrage. The content and timing of the post do not reflect the values, standards, or mission of Bluefish Pediatrics. We do not," they said, "we want to be clear, we do not support or condone any statement that politicizes tragedy, diminishes human dignity, or fails to clearly uphold compassion for every child and family, regardless of background or belief. Our practice exists for one purpose only, to provide excellent, loving, and respectful care to all children and families. Our patients come from every walk of life, every political belief, and every background, and we are honored to serve each of them with empathy and integrity. In moments of crisis, we believe in unity over division, healing over judgment, and humility over rhetoric. We are taking this matter seriously, reviewing it internally, and have placed the physician on administrative leave." The practice later added, "The individual is no longer employed." All right. Now let me start over. I literally just said in my previous segment, I don't care to talk about this lady or making this comment because you can find examples of this everywhere. I'm not saying what she did was right. No, it was wrong, and you shouldn't bring your kids there. My point is, I'm not going to act like all liberals are insane because one person posted this. To actually do a quantitative study on the total amount of people who are posting these things left, right, or otherwise, well, sure, it's going to be more than just this one lady. What I will say is the right has these people too. I've seen them. They post their helicopter memes and emojis, and you know what that means? They're saying to kill people. So I'm not going to take one person saying something bad and imply all liberals are like this. That being said, I do think it's fair to say that there is a tendency among liberals to want you to die more so than the right. As the saying goes, conservatives believe that liberals are misguided. Liberals believe that conservatives are evil, although that is largely changing. Conservatives are now believing that liberals are largely evil, if not just the banality of evil. But here's where I think things are particularly interesting. This is the cancel culture rebound, I guess. The argument we're going to start hearing from liberals, and we have, is that I thought you opposed cancel culture. And I think they don't really understand what cancel culture ever was. So let's start here. Are there consequences for naughty speech? Yep, indeed. That was always the argument liberals made. They said, you have free speech. This is just the consequences of saying bad words. Okay. I have no problem with that. Look, if somebody here at Timcast was posting insanely racist, hate-filled things, we'd let them go. I'm not even kidding. Hold on. Let me clarify. The line in which we engage this is much further than the way liberals do. You'd say something, you'd make a joke that was an obvious joke, and they'd fire you. My point is this. If you are actively causing damage to this business and our ability to function, so much so that it would cease to exist, you've got to stop. So let me clarify, because I'm being a little hyperbolic. We've had people here at Timcast who have posted naughty opinions about very bad things. And I said, okay, that's it. We've had people here post really brutal images of people being killed and, critical of Islam and things like this. Privately, I've approached these people and said, I don't think what you're saying is going to be as effective as you hope it is, but I'm not going to tell you your opinions. You can post what you want. And that was it. Never told them to take it down. However, there have been people here who have directly tweeted at prominent personalities racist and hate-filled rhetoric and slurs. And we've said, dude, this inhibits our ability to book these guests and gives an excuse to the left to never come on the show. Right now, the reason the left doesn't come on the show is because they're scared of the debate. And I'd prefer it be that way. I'd prefer, honestly, that they'd come on and actually engage in the debate, and we'd say, sit down and tell me your views. Dean Withers, why won't you reschedule with us? You're not doing anything else. But the reality is these guys are scared. But if we have employees here who are going to tweet at one of these guys and call them psychotic things, I'm going to be like, bro, we're trying to book this guy, and they're going to say no, screenshot that and say, this is why you shouldn't go on his show. So that we stop. I have no problem with saying, if you engage in things that destroy a business, we're not going to work with you on this. However, let's talk about what cancel culture really was. There was a race car driver who lost a sponsor because his father had said a racial slur in the 80s. Papa John. I love Papa John's. Yo, let me tell you about Papa John's. They actually do have better ingredients. I'm not even kidding. I'm a health nut, okay? You go look at the ingredients on all the pizza places. Papa John's unquestionably has the best. Papa John was on a phone call where he was expressing disdain for the Colonel of KFC, Colonel Sanders, for having used the N-word, but he said it. So they destroyed his life. They found, no. That was cancel culture. There was a Netflix executive who was explaining to people slurs that should not be tolerated, but he said them. So they brought him into HR. Said what happened? He's like, I was giving the employees a list of slurs you're not allowed, we don't want on our programming. And said, what slurs? And then he said them. And they went, oh, he said it again. He wasn't calling anybody. That's cancel culture. Consequences for speech was always the lie. That's why I say, okay, here's the nuance with this lady. I guess it's probably important, she wants you to die if you're MAGA because you might bring your kids to her. Okay, I wouldn't want to bring my kids to her. If you had a racist doctor who's posting things about, black people he didn't like, I think it's important to know that if you're a black family, you probably don't want to go to that doctor. That's why I say, let him speak. Let him speak. Now, the business firing her, well, I got to be honest. That's bad for their company, and people are going to not want to go there. I get that. That is not what cancel culture was. Certainly it was a component of it, that people would have an opinion and get fired for it. But when we're talking about cancel culture, we're talking about someone saying, I support Donald Trump. We shouldn't be allowing illegal immigration, and then they'd fire him for it. The left was so extreme in their intolerance for any deviation from leftist social orthodoxy, people were getting fired over innocuous things. But if you call for death or you're a doctor and you're overtly racist, I have no problem with them severing ties from you. And I've said this for years about Timcast. Guys, if somebody worked here and was on social media and they went above and beyond calling for the death of liberals, I wouldn't fire them immediately. But I would certainly be like, you can't do this. And we've had, I think, like 2 or 3 circumstances in 5 or 6 years. About probably 5 years, because that's when staff really expanded. Saying, there is a line. If we had people who worked here and we said, we literally don't care what you say, and they were going on X and calling for death, okay, calling for the death of people, I'd be like, we will not be able to run this business if you do that. It is an impossible situation. So anyway, that's why I wanted to highlight this story. The point I was making in the previous segment, the reason why I'm not coming after this lady and acting like it's all liberals or anything like that, again, it's because I see the comments from the right where they say, bring the helicopters, whatever. And that's just one thing they say. I'm not going to act like every conservative or every liberal is evil and wants to kill people just because we've highlighted a few random people. I can say this. Kathy Griffin, Destiny, there are prominent liberals that gloat for death, gloat over death, cheer for it. The right has less of them. And that's what's one of the things that's separating left from right. I do believe it's fair to say the right wants political power. The left wants conservatives to die. Not all of them, but I think their tendencies. You will find most conservatives say, I'll pray for you, and I wish you'd turn things around, and welcome people who've changed their lives. The left better not be an apostate. You're a grifter, you're a fake, you're a fraud. We'll see, though. I don't know. I'm going to leave it there. Smash the like button. Share this show with everyone you know. Stay tuned. More to come throughout the day. You can follow me on X and Instagram at Timcast. Join us at timcast.com on the Discord server. Be a part of that community. You don't got to align in any way politically. It is a group of people that are building things, that are getting fit, that are getting healthy, starting companies, writing comics, building cars, whatever it may be. Some people have gotten married. Go to timcast.com, click join us, download the Discord app, get in that server, and be a part of the community. Thanks for hanging out. We'll see you all in the next segment.